Welcome back to SAi TV. My name is Fanuel Muindi, and I'm so excited that you're joining us today on this special segment where we are looking at the recession, the upcoming recession that you keep hearing about. And if you've missed this recession talk, I encourage you to just take a look at the news. Each week, it's something new data point that are potentially leading us to a recession, and then there's another camp telling us that we're not going to a recession. If you are running a STEM engagement initiative, you need to pay attention because this is going to impact you, me, and really everyone else out there. And so we wanted to take a stab at this and get a pulse of what people are thinking about with respect to the upcoming recession and their respective science communication, STEM engagement initiative. And so we initially started by doing a very quick Twitter poll, and this was by no means a scientific one at all, but we wanted to get a general sense of what are folk thinking about, especially with the ongoing talk about the recession. So take a look at this image here, and you see that we polled about 21 people, and this again from my Twitter specifically, and quite amazingly, a lot of them, 47.6%, are saying that essentially funding for science outreach and other types of programming in this space will stay the same. 33% think they will increase, and about 20% think that it will decrease. Now, this is actually quite interesting. Of course, there are a lot of macro factors at play here is that for these founders of these initiatives and those who are practitioners in this space have no control over, right? We are, of course, sensitive to funders, donors, and foundations that are giving out those funding mechanisms. And so we don't know how they're going to respond to the recession broadly themselves. So that adds another dimension to this as we think about the upcoming recession. 2023 is full of uncertainty on that domain. And so this is interesting that, at least for this poll, this really tiny poll, folk are thinking that funding is likely to stay the same. Of course, time will tell. So let's wait and see. We did also have a chance to ask some of those people in the field, both experts, to get a sense of what are they thinking about with respect to the recession talk that is out there. So we talked with Bruce Lewenstein. He's a professor of science communication at Cornell in the Department of Communication and Science of Technology Studies. And here's what he had to say. He goes, his reaction generally is that institutions look at recessions / budget constraints in two ways: retreat to the known, or use the opportunity to rethink priorities. Given the fundraising in general will be a greater need in the context of limited budgets, I suspect that some institutions will put more emphasis on science communication, at least in the institutional support context. I'm not so sure there will be more attention to more community engaged public engagement, which involves giving more power to outside groups. That's a much bigger jump and probably not one that many places are willing to risk. We also reached out to another expert and practitioner in the field. This was Adriana Bankston, and she's the CEO of the Journal of Science Policy and Governance. And here's what she had to say. She goes, funding for these areas has traditionally been low as compared to research, and should be prioritized at a national level in order to highlight the value of science in society. I would expect it to go down even more during a recession. So there's really a mixed bag here. And again, these are really just very small subset of folk that are out there. And 2023, I'm sure, will provide us a distribution of things to think about and talk about. Funding, I think, is something that we all are thinking about very, very closely and deeply because it affects the work that these organizations do on the ground, especially even here at SAi as well. And so we had got feedback and insight from the Chief Executive Officer of First Start, Lyndsey. And so I was so excited to get her take So their organization, they partner with child welfare agencies, universities, and school districts to ensure foster youth have the academic, life skills, and the adult support they need to transition to higher education and adulthood successfully. So I want you to take a listen of what she had to say with respect to the recession talk and how her organization is navigating the upcoming changes. Take a listen.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lyndsey Wilson. I am the CEO of First Star. We are a national nonprofit. We're located all over the United States, and we started in 1999 and became a direct service nonprofit in 2011. Our first site was at UCLA, and we still have a site there. We work with teenagers in the foster care system. We support their trajectory from high school and beyond. We graduate 99% of our youth from high school, and we send about 90% on to college. So really proud of our work. Now, the question around a recession, this is an important topic for anyone that is an executive leader or anyone in a work environment or business environment that wants to be helpful or wants to understand how organizations have to adjust themselves in light of speculation that a recession may be looming. And so a few things that you have to consider as a nonprofit leader or as a business leader is you have to be mindful with understanding what's happening in the economy. So you have to always be in alignment with what is happening economically now and what is being projected for the future. Once you, of course, have that understanding, and in this case, we know that a recession is, most folks are saying that a recession is coming. The next part is to understand your financial picture. If you haven't gone through the practice of cost modeling, understanding what is the cost of your model, how much revenue is required in order to maintain your model, how much is subsidized through the organization, how much is received through outside parties. Those types of questions have to be answered in order to weather a recession properly. In addition to understanding your model cost, it's also important to start to create financial projections. If we know that there is a chance that revenue will decrease by 10%, then that requires the organization to make adjustments now in order to offset or mitigate that loss throughout that year or that period of time when there's an economic downturn. In order to do that, you have to work closely with either your CFO, if you have one, your board, members of the board that work in finance, or accountants, so that they can start to talk with you and brainstorm through how do your financial ratios adjust in light of a recession. And so these are the practices that First Star has undergone as of late as we approach a recession. We also did a lot of what I'm sharing with you today when COVID hit. Nobody understood how COVID was going to impact our organizations. And so in light of the changes we were starting to see, we created a short-term strat plan that focused on our finances, focused, of course, on our staff, and most importantly, on the population we serve. Because we know that if the economy is impacting an organization, well, we know that the young people that we serve are also going to be impacted by a downturn in the economy, just like most people in the country. And so that's another reality to consider, is that as you're working through your financial projections, and you're thinking about this through an operations lens and through a finance lens, you must always consider your mission and why you are there, the young people that in our case, the young people that we serve, and in other organizations, the populations that you serve, and understand how their plight might change, and where, as you're creating your financial projections, you can take that adjustment into account. So that maybe you can provide additional support to the individuals or to the population that you serve. And another area that I think is really important for nonprofits to understand is this notion of model creep. a lot of times, if we don't prepare for a recession and we find ourselves underwater, or that we may not have the cash flow necessary to get through the end of the year, we then write a grant that is outside of the model, outside of what we are used to doing, what we do well, what we've learned to do. And what that usually results in are more challenges for the organization than the than the benefit of bringing in the additional dollars. Because you may have to hire some new people, you may have to understand a new space or ecosystem within your environment that requires additional resources that may have a negative impact on your overall operating budget. Because while you may have accounted for certain expenses through the grant, you didn't account for others because you're expanding your program without having made those adjustments to your operating budget or to the operating budget itself. So that's just, that's sort of one area to think about when a recession is looming. When and if you have to apply for more grants or receive additional dollars, really try your best to still maintain your mission and your model within those asks, so that you don't find yourself struggling to meet the demands of a new program because you weren't equipped to handle something brand new, especially during a recession. So those are just a few of the areas of the items that I know that First Star and in general nonprofits have to consider when they are facing times of economic uncertainty.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed those insights. And there's really, again, this is a very fast take on this ongoing situation and upcoming updates. And so we look forward to engaging more of these folks on the field to give us their take as things develop and in the next several months and upcoming year, really, entirely. So, of course, this is a global issue, right? Here in the US, of course, where we are based, we are looking at it from this lens, but it's going to affect different regions of the world where science engagement is taking place differently. Some places will suffer more significantly than others. And so it's interesting when you look at it from that perspective as well, that we really need to think that we are a global community that is involved. So with the uncertainty comes many, many questions. And what we're going to be doing here at SAi TV is be asking those questions as much as possible and bringing the up-to-date information and knowledge base from those who are doing the work and who are facing these questions on the field. And so with that, this was SAi TV. Thank you for joining me today.